So do we need to make an appeal? Like, hey,
I did a couple of times.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on YouTube Live. And let's go live on TikTok. Hi, YouTubers.
Good morning.
So yeah, there's your TikTok camera. There's your YouTube camera. We're on. Good morning.
Here we are, Saturday morning. Saturday morning.
Doing our thing. So we went for a little different location this day.
Yes, we did.
We're not sure if we like it or not.
Well, I guess other people can be the judge of that as to whether or not this shot in the never-ending pursuit of mixing it up. Like, we're still sheltering in place in California. So,
Yeah.
like, it is a big day when I go to the mailbox at the end of the very short driveway. So, yeah. So what else can we do? We can like try to change the shots in our little tiny home office here and make it more interesting for folks who are popping on. And good morning to folks who are joining. It looks very nice. Thank you so much. That's Beige 45.
Yeah, her name is Lisa.
Oh, good. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking this morning, like, I wonder what Beige 45, I wonder if she's going to be on this morning, for one thing. And secondly, I wonder what her actual name is, and if she minds us knowing that.
She's the one that says the shot looks very nice.
Yes, I see that. I see that comment. So.
Yeah, we're just always like right up our faces in the right up in there on people, and so I thought let's try to sit back. Now is it cockeyed? Is it?
I think we're good. We're just
good.
going with this.
Okay.
And in case you're wondering if I have on a tinfoil hat with the little antenna coming up, I do not. That happens to be a lamp.
You want to move the lamp?
We could probably move the lamp. You want me to reach it?
Can you reach it?
I think so. I think I can reach it. I've never been accused of wearing a tinfoil hat.
All right, there we go.
Is that better?
Yeah, now you're kind of washed though.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do that.
So here we are, adjusting, fidgeting, doing our usual thing, but
Yeah.
It's Saturday and we are excited that we made it through another week, and we're excited. I was telling Paul this week that honestly, one of my highlights of every week in shelter in place and COVID world and crazy thing that is the day we live in is just hanging out on Saturday mornings with Paul, with people who choose to join in, and you know, seeing the comments and the chats that come in. It's just like, I don't know, it's just really encouraging to me.
Yeah, this is our little debrief from the week.
Yep.
And hanging out with you guys, and so we do always love you to tell us where you're joining from. And boy, we've got the words a little bit farther away than normal. Those of us in northern Michigan love the sunshine. All right,
Yeah.
Lisa has sunshine in northern Michigan.
I'll tell you what, we here in the middle of California, so we're in Fresno, which is literally the geographic center of the state of California. It's a desert here. And we were on track to have the driest January in 100 years until this week. Quite literally, an atmospheric river, that's apparently a meteorological term, an atmospheric river opened up, the heavens opened, and they poured, and we had rain and rain and rain 4 days in a row, just like a soft but steady and very full rain that just came down. So our land has been drenched and quenched, and our air is beautiful. So now we get some sun.
Cool. Yeah. So when she says desert, that is a climate term. It actually is beautiful and green and lush, and we're the kind of the agricultural breadbasket of the world.
But it's all irrigated. That's the point.
Yes.
It's not like natural.
We don't get very much rain at all. And so it was weird to have, what do we have, like 2.5 days of nonstop serious rain.
No, we had like more than that, 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
But so we have to truck all the water in. It comes from the Sierra Nevadas, which are the mountain range that, you know, that boundary, the eastern part of California. Snow freezes up there, and then in the spring it melts and it comes down, and you know, it's channeled to irrigation districts or canals. That and then groundwater, people pull water up with pumps, and that's why we have agricultural bounty.
So Lisa has a brother who lives in Fresno.
Oh, you're kidding!
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
How about that?
How did we not know this?
How did we not know that?
We've been Saturday morning Zooming or whatever, living together for many weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the rest of you who are
Georgia and Jacksonville, Florida,
welcome.
Portland, Oregon,
welcome.
LA. Glad you guys are with us.
Yeah. And you know what? Do us a favor if you can share this live for a second. We are.
Well, I like that look much better right
Well,
there.
you know what it is? It's when I move in and out of the sun. Anyway, so I was joking about not wearing a tinfoil hat earlier, and actually it's just like a little lamp behind me. But here's the deal: I do have one small conspiracy that I want to share today.
Okay.
I think that TikTok algorithms are messing with us right now.
They are.
Messing with you.
They are.
So, like, we're having a hard time reaching the outer world. So, can you share this video right now? Share this live. Go on, if you haven't already, follow Paul, Old Pastor Paul, the TikTok pastor. We want to break the rhythm of the algorithm and get back to the point where we can reach more people, connect with all of you, you guys connecting with one another. So
there we go.
Give
We
it a
just got
shout.
a share from, gosh, I can't read that, but
So the funny thing is I can read better from here because
Can you?
I have my contacts in,
Okay,
and when it's
good.
up close, I can't see it without reading.
well, then you
glasses.
read it and tell me what's
I'll
happening.
do my
Somebody
best.
was saying that I had talked about it earlier. Yeah, it's like it's weird. It goes in such spurts, and there are times when videos just take off and we're adding followers and the comments are crazy, but I've never had it be as slow as it's been this week. It's
Yeah.
been the slowest week I've ever had
And
as a
yeah,
TikTok
following
creator.
the fastest week of expansion
Yeah.
we had, and you jump back in the creator fund thinking, well, maybe there's a way to generate a little bit of revenue to support what you're doing. And when you got back into the creator fund, it started to creep back.
So that's one of our conspiracy theories, that the
Yes.
creator fund causes TikTok to put your videos in the FYP less. And then somebody else told me that that they said you mentioned you mentioned YouTube.
Oh,
in your
and
video.
then they kind of blacklist you. back.
If you
Okay.
mention your YouTube page, you get put into
Hey,
purgatory for
By
that.
the way, someone just asked, how do you share the live? So can you say how to do that real quick, or can
I
somebody
don't
else?
really know. Somebody else may need to tell. I think you hit like the three dots no. There's a share
The
arrow.
arrow.
There's a share
Yeah.
arrow at the bottom, and you can share it out.
A share arrow, a share
Share.
So yeah, so welcome you guys.
And
Come
follow
on in.
if you're not a follower already. Make sure. Well, I like that. Thank you for showing what a real human should act like. Yeah. So yes, it's the arrow at the bottom right of the screen.
There we go. Now y'all are helping each other. Thank you. And we're just saying hi. So far, we've just been on for a few minutes. Thank you for popping in. Love to hear where you're from. And really our time on Saturday mornings is just spent kind of debriefing our week together, but also hearing from you guys. Next to the gift box. So helpful in the chat. Just hearing from you guys, and kind of the conversation unfolds from there. So hopefully this is a place of a little bit of decompression for your week, encouragement for one another. That's certainly what we want it to be. And then, just having freedom to say. In fact, Paul has started this little micro enterprise that is sort of his content generation company. And the name of the company is Permission to Speak. And that's really the theme of this season of our lives, is feeling like the chains are off. I'm no longer an elected official. Not that I wasn't forthright in saying what I wanted to say when I was mayor of Fresno, but they're just, it's a little different when you have like a public microphone. You have to think about what you're saying. And then of course, at the same time, my husband was pastoring a church that he started, a mid-sized church here in Fresno, California. And you felt like a lot of times you had to bite your tongue, or you would edit yourself before.
A lot of times.
Other people
all
would,
the time.
other people would edit you, and then you're like, oh crap, you started just editing yourself. So this is our season of life. We're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Permission to speak. And so we give you all permission to speak in the chat. Feel free to share what's going on. And this is a little bit of a gathering place of, politics and religion, and what's going on in this crazy, mashup of these two things that should not be coming together, and taking that apart so we can talk about the real God who loves us.
And while Permission to Speak is the name of the company, I think the theme of the season is permission to think. I want
like that.
people to have permission to think, and part of the problem of evangelicalism that has led to where we are spiritually, religiously, politically, and I'm not sure why that lighting keeps going up and down. It's just part of what it is.
Do you know, I honestly think like a truck is driving by or something. And
Oh,
it's
is that
like
what it
there's
is?
a shadow or something. Please don't be distracted by us.
Permission to think. So this idea of evangelicalism, we talked about this in the Bible chat this morning, that we know everything there is to know, and you have to be in line with that, or you're a false teacher, or God doesn't love you, or you're not a Christian, is bullshit. Let's be honest about
permission to curse is
permission
the
to
other,
curse is another thing.
is the subtitle. The third thing, permission to speak, permission to think, permission to curse. We are loving the ability to drop a little bullshit BS bomb, little F bomb every now and then.
Yeah, and people are saying like you weren't allowed to think or ask questions. And so I was talking in the Bible chat, and I'm on the Bible chat every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. Come on, and we were talking today about, is our theologies like the virgin birth, things we die on, hills that we die on, or is it just the message of Jesus connecting us to heaven, and we hold everything else a little bit loosely and we can argue about it. So there's a comment that says, I'm really grateful for you and other Christians who have taught me how to be a better Christian.
Nice.
And by better Christian, I think what you're saying, I hope, is looking more like the life modeled by Christ in the Bible, because that's actually what Christian means, is look like Jesus Christ. So yeah. So where do you want to go today?
All right. Well, besides the fact that I just dropped my cell phone on my dog's back and he is freaking out, so I'm needing to make sure he knows that World War III is not upon him.
People on YouTube can see him. His name's Pudgy, or they can see his butt.
Yeah, this is literally Pudgy's butt.
Pudgy's butt. On TikTok, you can't see how.
Yeah, I think probably what I would share this morning is coming in, just kind of ending the week. So I work for a local nonprofit. It's the Community Foundation that serves our area, and so, anybody who's worked in the nonprofit sector knows, like, honestly, I've worked private sector, I've worked in government, and God dang it, sorry.
What was that?
That was my phone.
Oh no.
Like all the way falling off. So now we will have no
Now the dog
problem
is really freaking out.
with it slipping off the armchair because it just fell on the ground. Anyway, I've
Problem
worked
solved.
in all three sectors, and I can tell you, God bless the people who work in the nonprofit sector. It is a lot of work, just nonstop. So I usually end up the week just kind of being drained and like, I was just like thinking a little bit this morning. I was journaling, knowing I was going to spend time hanging out with folks on TikTok, and I was like, okay, God, this is my version of prayer. Looks like this. I have a journal, and I just kind of write stuff out because it helps me focus. And like, otherwise, as a working mom, you guys know how this goes. Like, my thoughts are in 1,000 different places, so I write. And it kind of pulls me into like what's really going on with me. And I just found myself thinking, I really want people to be encouraged today to I've heard you say this week, to feel their feelings. And to I think just this hunker down, shelter in place, COVID. Now, thank God we've survived the presidential transition. So that's kind of a weight off our shoulders. But, I think for me, I can just be going all the time and not be in touch with how I'm feeling. And I want people to be encouraged to just, think about your week and be honest about how you're coming into this space, and, we'll see where it goes from there. I do also have a little cool Bible verse that stuck out to me this morning that I want to share maybe later.
Okay, whenever you feel like it fits. I love what you're saying, though. Part of an American culture is we have so many options to distract us, whether it's food or coffee or television. Now we have zillions of choices for TV viewing, or, pre-COVID days, we could go a zillion different places. And so our culture, and even evangelical thought, has been built around how do we avoid feelings, because we don't want to be sad. We're looking for happiness, which is an external concept.
We've assigned value to different feelings, instead of just being like, we value the feeling itself. It's okay.
Being happy is good. Being sad
is bad. So.
Being pensive is bad, and that's not true. That being sad or mourning is actually a very healthy process. So, we keep seeing people who say, well, how do I handle my parents who are angry at me because I don't believe like them politically? That's something you should mourn and grieve and sit with and say, oh, this hurts. My parents have gone insane. The world's gone insane around me. Those feelings are really valuable. And then what we say in the evangelical world is, get over it, read your Bible and be okay.
Or forget.
Jesus took care of you. You don't need, and those are,
we deny ourselves.
Those are denial. It's absolute denial. So it's really healthy to sit and say,
Yep.
I'm kind of sad. I'm going to be sad. It's okay to be. Why am I sad? Let me look that through. Those are really healthy moments.
So maybe that's what our weekends or this weekend can be about for those of you who are in a similar boat where you just are kind of killing yourself to get through the week. What COVID is complicating everything. Everything's more difficult, whether you've got kids at home that you're trying to also help with school, or if you are back at work and you're having to go to work in the middle of all this, or working at home or whatever. Like weekends, man, we gotta like let that stuff go and let ourselves feel what we've just been through for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really true.
Yeah.
I need to adjust something on
Okay.
YouTube real quick. So
Okay.
talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I'll say, it's there are so many great things about when I said that earlier that it's like so much work. I don't mean to suggest that it's bad. The awesome thing is that you get to hang out with people who are like really skilled facilitators and like counselors and social workers, and like I feel like every meeting I'm in is like a group therapy session, because you got somebody there who's like facilitating the space, and everyone's talking about how are you showing up today, and like all this is stuff we never did this kind of stuff when I was mayor and president. I would be like, F your feelings, we got work to do, leave that outside the building. But
I'm proud of you for saying F.
yeah, I figured it's a little too early
That
to
would
start.
That would be a little too much.
The actual, but anyway, I'm not kidding you. I went to this one meeting not long ago, and this lady, she's a sociologist, she had with her like a physical cutout of like a wheel, and she called it the feeling wheel, and we had to like spin, and like all these different feelings were on there, and I can't remember the exercise, but I thought, oh my God, this is classic.
And you had one that was like give a weather report of how you're doing. Right?
Yes, like all the different ways that people are thinking, like the creative questions of like showing up for Zoom call after Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, and like all these facilitators are trying to get fancy with how they facilitate the meeting so that it feels better than just staring at a computer screen. And so one call I was on, the icebreaker question was like, if you could be weather, like what weather would you be right now? And so people were like, oh, I'm in the desert. I'm, it's really hot, or I can't remember all the different, like
partly cloudy with sun breaking through.
Exactly. So yes, the creativity abounds in nonprofits.
So I wasn't texting. I was asking our YouTube followers to let me know how the sound is and if you guys can hear okay and where you're joining from. So we're live on YouTube and TikTok right now.
Yeah.
And we're trying to break through the algorithms in both. So let everybody know you're here and joining, because somehow I got put in TikTok purgatory this week. And so we're trying to see if we can break the algorithm down.
So, I'm realizing that it is a little bit tough to see folks' comments from here. And so I wonder, do you want me to flip the scroll through that and kind of see what's going on in the chat box?
No, I don't think so yet.
Okay.
So I shared on Twitter.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, and you can tell us a Bible verse, but I was asked an interesting question this week, and it actually ended up coming through about 3 times. And it was, what party would Jesus be in if Jesus were on earth today?
Yeah.
Would he be a Republican? Yet Beige is typing in all caps again, so we can really see. I mean, we can see it, but usually we're within fingers distance to scroll through, and we're not today because we were just trying out a different shot, and it's not something we can easily change and fix. So we may go to something else, but isn't it nice to see another part of our space today and get to see our bookshelf?
We hope it's refreshing for you.
We just wanted something different, and I think it looks fabulous on YouTube. So, but we'll probably go back to our other one. I just wanted it to look different this week.
Gotcha.
But so what do you think? If Jesus were on earth, incarnate in the flesh today, what political party would he belong to? Or would he be liberal, conservative, libertarian, laissez-faire, free market economist? What do you think?
Well, I mean, don't you think when Jesus was on the earth, not if he was here today, but like he was on the earth, and he, like everything he did was like teaching people, y'all are all about this sort of man-made power and control of governmental structures that are made by man. You're missing the point. The point is kingdom. I'm from a different place. So I almost feel like he would represent that same thing today. I think he would be like, honestly, you guys reason among yourselves, try to come up with the best policies you can. There's good and bad in both parties, but but realize there's something different and better and transcendent from this little power struggle you're having with political parties. Don't you think that's what he would say today?
Yeah.
I mean, he like literally said that
Yes.
when he was here before.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go with it. I hear a lot of people say he'd be libertarian, and I actually don't think that's true. Not a straight libertarian, because libertarians are just like, hey, everybody go do their own thing, and you reap the consequences or you reap the benefits, and there should be no government. I think one of our sayings is like, we believe God hates politics, but he loves good government. The Bible talks about good government, just government on a regular basis, said it would even rest on the shoulders of Emmanuel, that government of peace would be his lineage forevermore. So I don't think Jesus would be anti-government. I think he was like, let's overturn bad systems. But the truth is, the government of Rome, which was the government of the day in his life, other than sort of the religious system that was underneath that government, he never bothered to once say we need to overthrow that government. He was not and there were zealots trying to overthrow the government. So I think straight libertarian anti-government would not be Jesus.
Oh, hell no. Listen, I served as mayor alongside a libertarian council member, and I love him dearly, like a brother, but that guy was whacked.
Yeah. He was a Tea Party guy, right?
No, he was whatever.
Yeah.
He literally, with libertarians, are like, just nobody ever tell anybody what to do, and like any sort of systematic, like structure is bad. Honestly, and so sometimes he was like, way far left, and then other times he was like super far right. You could never figure that out. I mean, it's a concept that breaks down in its implementation.
Yeah.
And to Beja's question, no, or Lisa, it's libertarian and independent are not the same thing.
Yeah, no, libertarian is a very specific belief in, like, everybody gets to do their own thing. There should be almost no laws against anything.
The government, literally, this guy would espouse things like the government should not build roads.
Right.
Like, individuals, if you want to travel somewhere, you should build your own road.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not, it's completely divorced from reality.
And it's an idea that the free market will always correct itself. And we just know the history of countries just doesn't bear that out.
Yeah.
We believe there has to be a tension. We believe in so Jesus always was talking about taking care of the poor, loving your neighbor, all of those things. So that was a key tenet. And so many people tell me, like, so Jesus was a socialist, but then he would tell parables, and 9 times out of 10, the parable was about do good things and you will reap a harvest, you will reap a reward. And since agriculture was the major industry of his day, he was putting everything in terms of, if you do right, you're going to reap a profit and a benefit. So I don't think he was anti-capitalism 100%, because he was always talking about work hard, reap a profit, but then steward that profit to take care of people around you.
So let's I want to refine my response to your question. Okay. So I do not believe that Jesus would have fallen into the trap of like picking a brand of politics, but I totally agree with you.
The Bible said he was neither slave nor free, Greek nor Jew. So yes.
But that's different from being like hands off. I don't really have an interest here. La la la. I believe, and I would say, like,
somebody's asking if I'm Jonah Hill, by the way.
What's Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill, the actor.
I don't know who that is.
I don't think I look like him, but
I'll Google the image later.
Sorry, I interrupted your track.
Yeah, that was
one worth looking at.
You know what? If you're married to Paul Swearingen, you learn to have like a laser focus. Like, you cannot shake my point, because this guy is slightly ADD and so verbal. So he was like, he will try to take you in, but I will not be deterred to say what I was going to say. Here's what my point. Connecting with the true God of the Bible.
Everybody's talking about how much I look like Jonah Hill. Okay, go ahead.
Which will be our next topic.
Yes.
As I reach for my phone and look to see if I agree or not. When you connect with the love of God as manifested by his son Jesus, you are not the same. You are not the same. And I 100% know that if Jesus was on the earth today, which actually he is through all of us, as we like as we reflect him and his love for people, it will change the way we think about others. It will change our hearts to orient us towards community. And I believe the best thing for community, civil society in the long run is solutions have to be lasting. So, when it comes time to ink the policy or, appropriate resources or figure out how to solve a problem we all have in common, one of the really important things you have to think through, to your point about, Jesus talked a lot about prosperity and sort of financial sustainability, is that you have to think about like, okay, given our resources and our society, like if we do things a certain way, let's think 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, is this going to put us on the right course? And so I think probably like Jesus inspired policy I'm not trying to promote myself. I'm not trying to condemn my enemy or like, make a spectacle out of my political enemy. I genuinely think this is the right thing to do. I think Jesus would give that person's heart view and like rational mind a full hearing and a full audience.
Right.
I think Jesus, like, I think anything brought forward as how the Pharisees would always bring these trick questions to Jesus. Okay, they were at that time, they were asking him things like, well, which is it, Jesus, Republican or Democrat?
Yeah.
And waiting for him to say the wrong thing so that they could condemn him. And I think,
or they would say, gay people going to hell, yes or no?
Yeah, exactly. Just yes or no, yes or
Yes
no.
or no. Don't equivocate. Yeah. Give us an
Yeah.
answer, yes or no. And Jesus would never answer those questions.
None of
ever.
it. So again, I think if Jesus were governing in today's society, I think he would I think he would give full audience to people who brought their best ideas, their hearts and their minds, and they're sacrificial. Like another thing about sort of leading in the governmental realm, I always look for who is making a sacrifice and like telling the truth to their base, like or saying something that they know is not going to be liked, but it is actually the truth. Whoever's coming from that point of view, man, that person's got the heart of God in that situation. So
I think it was one of the sort of covenants you made, perhaps with yourself or between us as you were running for office, that if the answer to the question of are you going to do this or are you not, or are you going to support this or are you not, is ever like, here's the right answer, but if I do that, it's going to injure me politically or injure my party,
yeah,
then you go with the right answer.
yeah.
You'd never
You
go with
just
the
have
political
to.
answer.
And you just have to. And here's the thing. Okay, what you can't do is do that sometimes and not other times.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's people don't trust you. That is like walking into like a briar patch of thorn bushes. You can't just do stuff that's politically acceptable. You have to do that all the time, or else people don't trust that when you are taking a hard position that you're doing it for the right reason.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't do it when it's convenient.
And actually in some ways it's harder because it can cost you, and it costs you with the Republican Party at times, which, by the way, in California, the Republican Party is so nutty cracky.
Yeah, I'm not too sad about.
I mean, it is worldwide or nationwide now for sure, but here in California, the Republican Party is really wacko, like majorly wacko. Well, Kevin McCarthy and Devin Nunes are part of it here in Central
But they're
California.
not even really that involved in the state party, by the way.
Well, true.
They're more just like at the national level, like this, like, yeah. I mean, well,
they're not too involved in the state party, but I think they're pretty good representations of where Republicanism has gone in California.
Yeah.
And yes, we have on the Democratic side, we have a lot of issues too. Somebody, Lisa, I think, was saying she felt like the Republicans manipulate their people more than the Democrats do. And I think today in the Donald Trump era, we certainly can understand that as an argument. But I think both sides have their little footballs that they know how to push on and manipulate people. It's kind of like immigration. In some ways, neither side wants immigration to get fixed because it is a political football that both of them can use to activate their people. And if it was resolved, you don't agree? If it were resolved, then they wouldn't have that as an issue to push their people on.
It's not, I don't think the left benefits from it not being solved. I think the left actually does want to solve immigration issue. I really do. Because it's.
Then why don't they?
Oh, because I mean, they don't. Well, that's a good question. You know, a lot of people are very critical of the Obama administration for not going hard on immigration reform. And I just think, well, what I've heard from insiders, people who were in the administration.
Oh, people are like, we disagree. Oh, yes, we do at times.
What I've heard is, okay, do you want to just a little bit of pour the tea on President Obama for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
What does that mean, pour the tea?
It means tell the truth.
Oh, okay. All right.
I learned it from my 21-year-old daughter.
Pour the tea. All right. I didn't know that. Pour the tea.
Okay, I'll try not to repeat that one. Anyway, and this has been like, other people have said this a lot publicly, so it's not anything like super insightful, but so they get into office in 2009 and they literally they break the bank on healthcare reform, right?
Right.
They use every ounce of political capital. They force it.
Which, when you think back about it now that they got that done, seeing where our government is now, it's incredible that they were able to get that bill passed.
And it was a calculation. They knew they were going to have to spend it all, and that it might. It was going to impact them at midterms. I don't know that they realized it would impact them as much as it did. But that 2 years was like just brutal, bloody battle. And then they really paid the price with the red wave in 2010, which swept the nation, except it stopped at the border of California. Anyway, so then doing a similar big push and lift on immigration reform, I think they were kind of just a little bit gun shy. And also I've heard from people who were lawyers in the administration that President Obama was not great with working with the legislature. And now we see with President Biden, like Biden was brought in for that reason, to cultivate relationships and really understand the mechanics of the legislature, and President Obama was seen as not having time for that, kind of above it to cerebral, and just the relational tissue was so frayed, Frayd, that then they just they did not have the support, the political support to go make this big push on immigration reform. And to this day, I mean, we hear a lot in our region, a lot of Latinx leaders that are just so upset about that.
Yeah.
And it didn't get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
oh, by the way, I remember when President Obama, there was, I want to say, somebody might know in the chat, maybe year 6 for them, they did make a run of it, 6 or 7. And I remember President Obama saying publicly and nationally, when asked, what's it going to take to get immigration reform done? He said the evangelical church needs to get on board. And he called out the evangelical church, like, y'all are anchoring the Republican Party, and you are the people of the Bible. And if you think that refugees should be treated differently per the Bible, you need to speak up and sway your political party. But of course we didn't. So.
And that Christians backed up Trump immigration policies is mind-boggling.
Oh, God.
Absolutely mind-boggling. And that Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States, used the book of Romans to back it up is an abomination to me. It is absolutely, I almost can't contain the amount of anger I feel over that. And that Christians believe punishing immigrants for coming across the border is what God would want them to do is nuts.
Yeah.
It is, you are not reading the Bible, because
honestly,
taking care of the foreigners, because in their culture, they had these people that weren't Jewish and weren't of Israelite heritage or Israeli heritage. And so they had no way to own, they couldn't own land, they couldn't have jobs, they could own, and so God specifically said, you have to take care of those people. You have to take care of those people. And we have the story of Boaz and Ruth. And Ruth was this foreign widow, and nobody was required to take care of her by their cultural standards. But God said, Boaz, I'm really going to bless you. And they end up being in the lineage of Jesus for taking care of those foreigners and leaving your field unharvested on the edge so that the widows and foreigners can feed themselves. And so to think that the Bible would say, yeah, punish people that are running from oppression in their own countries to have the hope of America. And when they come here, treat them so badly that everybody else will be scared to come, and then call ourselves a great country because of that? You've got to be freaking kidding me. There's no way the Bible lines up with that in the slightest. All right, I'll stop preaching.
Okay,
I get a big wow from Curtis on YouTube for that one.
So I want to just do a quick interlude in case we know when we do these lives, people come on for 2 or 3 minutes at the time and at the most. So if you've been hanging out with us since we jumped on about 30, 45 minutes ago, pardon the interruption here for a second, but let me say thank you for joining us. I'm Ashley. This is Paul.
This is Pudgy.
This is Pudgy. He happens to be joining us today. This is Old Pastor Paul on TikTok, the Nonpartisan Evangelical on I guess other parts, but we're sticking with Old Pastor Paul, pastor-paul.com. If you're liking what you're hearing, if you're enjoying just hanging out in this space, can you just take a second and hit the share arrow, which we have coined a new word this morning, the share-o.
The share-o.
Because TikTok is kind of like strangling Paul's content this week, and we want to.
We don't know. The TikTok gods are listening.
This is my theory, my tinfoil hat here. That you know, when you start kind of expanding your audience, that like maybe it recedes, kind of, I don't know.
We have a number of theories as to why we're.
Yeah, so just share it, and then if you haven't followed Old Pastor Paul yet, please do, and share the fact with others that you're following. Paul is a career pastor, licensed minister. Actually, I shouldn't say career pastor, because before he went into the ministry, he was a sports guy.
Yeah.
So he's got such an interesting background: radio, TV, sports, calling out, you know, people on different issues in the sports world. And then really felt like he was supposed to go into ministry. So he did that kind of mid-career. At the same time, I was running for mayor. So we've served in the sort of governmental realm and also the church world. And that brings us to this point where we're saying that it is time for people of faith to speak truthfully about what's happening in our society, not to be blinded with the political blinders of the right, And that's what we like to do when we hang out together on Saturday mornings. But also, it's a time to decompress. So we're hoping you feel some encouragement from hanging out here together. And we love to see where you guys are from, because we just think that God loves cities, He loves communities, He loves physical regions. And every time I see a different location flash up on the screen, I get excited about the person who's in that place, other people who are in that location, their heart's desires, and how God loves their dreams, their ambitions for their community and for their families. So anyway, we like to see where you're from.
Yeah, we have somebody from Iowa asking where we're from.
Okay, fair
We're
question.
in Fresno, California, in the very center of the state. Texas, Arizona with us, northern Michigan. We seem to get a lot of Michiganders,
The Michiganders. I even like to say that word, Michigander. Yeah, that's a cool part of the country, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine who works in Michigan a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, what is the deal with Michigan? Like, militias trying to kidnap governors, and these crazy things going on with the election, the count, the recount, the state legislators going to see the president, blah blah blah. Like, what's going on? And his theory was that Michigan is a place where you've got rural parts of the state, which tend to be sort of Trump land, and then you've got these major urban centers, and so it's like a tornado, the hot and the cold coming together creates this little political storm. So anyway,
California's the same place, though.
Yeah, except no, but it's mostly blue. I mean, there's not much that people on the right can do to create friction, because mostly the state is just so dominant.
And on YouTube, we have Indira from LA, and Curtis from Fresno, Charles from Chula Vista, California. But I think a lot of people who aren't from California don't realize that Central California, where we live, not Fresno itself, which went for Clinton in the last election and Biden in this one, but the area of the San Joaquin Valley between these two mountain ranges in the center of the state.
Like the ag region of the state.
Very, very conservative. Well, Devin Nunes is our congressman. You guys probably have heard that name. And Kevin McCarthy is the congressman from Bakersfield, which is south of us. And they are as right-wing as you can get. Kevin McCarthy just had his picture taken with Donald Trump in Florida this week.
I would say they are as pandering as
pandering. How about
I'm
that?
I'm not sure I would put a political ideology with it. I would just say they're panderers.
Yeah, conservative means a whole different thing these days. And so they're as crazy, wacky right-wing as you can get. And the funny thing is, we from people we know who know them, that hasn't been them always. That was opportunistic political change for them.
Kind of more pragmatic, business-minded Republicans when they got their start.
And that's the thing, when you start partnering with an ideology and a party like the Christian Evangelical Church has, you start making compromises to your value system. It's exactly what I believe Jesus hated about the Pharisees was you give yourself permission to sin and to condemn others because you've partnered with this mindset. And so that's what I think Jesus would hate about the evangelical right-wing church if he were here in the flesh today.
I like this question. Can you be a conservative leftist? I don't know, but let's give it a try. How about
I would say that's a little bit of what we are. I wouldn't say leftist, but left-leaning centrist. How about that?
I don't know. I think the best way that I like, just practically the way I like to think about it, is like sort of what are the ideals and the sort of the heart and that's being lifted up by the political left. Let's evaluate that. And I think the left raises such good issues. I just don't think they always have the full toolbox of policy prescriptions to address those things. But I think our society is well served by paying attention to the issues and the concerns that are being raised. And then I think you have to stop and go like, okay, the things you're suggesting as policy solutions, let's think it all the way through. Like, let's look at the pro forma. Is it going to work 5 years from now? Where are we going to be 10 years from now? How about 20? How about 25? And you just kind of, if you combine that sort of conservative view of a solution needs to be sustainable, then maybe that is what a conservative leftist is. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'm a left-leaning centrist or follower of Christ. That would be because I start saying Christian, but then what Christian has come to mean is a whole nother thing. And boy, somebody had a good comment there, and I missed it.
And pardon me for like getting all up in everyone's space here, but let me just do this and scroll a little bit.
Go back a little bit farther, would you? There was one.
Can we just call that independent? Thank you. Let's just do that, right? like
I just
independent.
because again, to me,
Boom.
independent doesn't fully get it either because the Bible demands we live in community too. So this because what independent has come to mean in America is like, gosh darn it, nobody ever tells me what to do ever, and that's not the full
I don't
truth
think
either.
so. I think in a political context, particularly in California, where decline to state is the fastest growing political
No party preference.
no party preference, which is our version of independent. It doesn't mean that. It means
Right. So I
it
like no
means-
party preference better than independent, just as a terminology.
okay, fine.
What I'm
Well,
saying.
I don't know what comment you were looking for.
I don't know. I missed it.
What are the dangers?
Oh, the dangers of being a political party on religious values. The danger of that we see is first, there was this mythically created culture war that guys like Newt Gingrich and Pastor James Dobson of Focus on the Family, we create a culture war. The culture is out to get us, and either we're going to win or they're going to win. And it created this we're right, they're wrong, us versus them mentality. And when you do that, then religious values starts to be redefined. And so you see what it is. Like, I have many Christian friends that believe ever being for a tax is sin. Like all taxes are sinful.
Yeah.
Moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was required of Christians to support, or you were demonic and demonically controlled. And these are things that have become part of being religious values of a political party that are not in the Bible as requirements of Christians. And so that's the danger, that now capitalism itself and not kneeling to, not taking a knee on the flag, like the flag itself has become an idol to us, and saying, if you don't treat the flag right, you're not a Christian.
I have to tell you, there's so many good comments right
Okay,
now. I have to just like
I see you about to hop out of your chair.
Okay, first of all, independently interdependent. That is a really good way to
Wow,
put it.
there you go.
Thank you
Now
for
we're thinking
tying it all
deeply.
together. It's like the infinity loop of independence, but interdependent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I appreciate Lisa Beige 45 saying Newt really started it, helped by Roger Stone. I think that is super interesting. So we've been talking about, it's really been this 50-year arc, right? That led to Trump. And I personally choose to believe, it's my optimistic side, and also I think kind of God inspired, that that is really God sort of bringing us to a point of revealing a whole bunch of junk that's been there under the surface, and letting a new generation of people, Gen Xers, Millennials, Zs, choose again democratic principles. So I think it's God's mercy to let all this stuff come to the surface. And I like to think about it in a 50-year window. Yeah. Having said that 50 years was preceded by 50 years or 100 years. So it's hard to like plant the flag and be like, oh, it started here. Having said that, I will tell you, a friend of mine is a guy named Mickey Edwards. Is anybody from the Oklahoma City on here?
I saw an Oklahoma City on there earlier.
Mickey Edwards was a longtime congressman from the area, little Jewish guy from like Red Belt, Oklahoma. And he was, I think, like third or fourth in charge in the power structure of Congress when Reagan was president. So he hails from that era. He says it was Newt Gingrich. He says that was the point where, like, in our current day, everything that's falling apart, he traces it back there. I think he even wrote a book about it, and he calls out Newt big time. And
Newt definitely galvanized, he used that mindset.
Yeah.
So I think it started earlier. I think it really started in the 60s when...
I mean, honestly, I mean, how do you not ultimately trace this back to the original sin of slavery and systemic racism?
Sure,
it's every single trail leads us back to that place.
But what happened in the 60s, as I see history, culture was getting so overturned that there was sort of this white angst that grew up, like, oh my gosh, these hippies and these blacks and all these people are going to overturn our culture and take away our position of privilege and power, and we're scared. And so then this guy George Wallace rises up, a Democrat at the time, but he went independent, and he started talking about law and order and common sense and you good people in culture, not those hippies or those Black Panthers. And then when he got kind of ousted from it, so Richard Nixon then usurped that and took it for himself. And he and Richard Nixon's group coined the term silent majority. and law and order became this thing. And what all those things were these dog whistles for, hey, white people, those people are out to get you. You need to vote for me so that they don't get you. And so Nixon, and then of course Reagan, really capitalized on that with Paul Weyrich and the moral majority and abortion as a manipulative political tool. And then Newt Gingrich took it to another level in the culture war. So all of them are culpable in all of that, I say.
Okay, fun fact. Y'all ready for this? For people from California, did you know that the American Independent Party that is registered with the state of California is actually the party of Governor George Wallace?
Yeah.
It still exists because a lot of people, like our daughter, when she registered to vote when she was 18, she was like, I'm going to be independent, Mom. I don't want to be a part of a political party. I said, great, go for it. And I forgot to tell her, you have to pick no party preference. She picked the American Independent Party. And so she's a member of the Governor George Wallace Party. So if you are listening and you're in California and you made the same mistake, you can change that on the Secretary of State website. So, anyway, that's just a little fun fact. I know, right? Isn't that funny?
So many dog whistles. What was the one somebody was saying? What do you guys think about? Somebody asked me who's going to win the Super Bowl.
Think about abolishing the two-party
system. Yeah, I don't know how
system.
you would abolish the two-party system.
Well, I don't know, honestly, but there is a movement in California to start a centrist party. It's called the Common Sense Party. The dog's behind me.
You got a dog sitting by you. He's been looking for a comfortable spot.
It's okay because I have to lean forward to see the comments. But so there are a lot of political scientists out there who are expert on third parties, and I don't know. There's just huge hurdles to that, but
you have to have the open primary system or the jungle primary system like California has.
And that was enacted by a citizen, is it a referendum where you run a ballot measure and like we have direct democracy in California.
And for anybody that doesn't know what that means, in California,
you can qualify a measure.
You can, and so now we can vote in any election. In the primary, you can vote for the Republican or the Democrat. You don't have to just vote in the primary of your party.
Yeah.
And so that gives room for a third party to rise up. It hasn't worked out that way yet, but
it takes some time.
But hopefully that will happen.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to also react to this whole point about like literally it's corruption. Here's what that looks like. When you were saying your point about Republican, like evangelicals think that raising taxes is a sin, and they don't know why they think that. It's just so embedded in the political culture and language. They've never stopped to evaluate the roots of that thinking. Well, let me tell you, it's very obvious, not that I need to tell you, but just to be really clear about it, it's because of the single interest private sector influence on the political right that marries up with the religious part of the party, and they fund the party, okay? The base of people that show up at events that turn out to vote, etc., or the evangelicals, but the people paying for the machinery are wealthy business people, like they're single interest private sector business people, all right? So they don't like taxes. So then they're like, they kind of maneuver into and through their religious voters and like, did you know that God doesn't like tax? Da, 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 da. And it's just total manipulation.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I mean, it's not like there isn't similar stuff that happens on the left with single interest, and it's not like there shouldn't be a ton of checks on the use of publicly stewarded dollars, of course, but just want to be clear, it's political, it's self-serving political.
Right, and we hear a lot like, well, it's on both sides, but no, there really isn't this religious manipulation of like God wants you to be anti-tax. And so that is, and so how that really got inculcated was you had Christian media and right-wing media. So you have sort of this, like Focus on the Family going through Christian radio stations and now through the internet and constantly talking culture war, culture war, culture war. And it begins, so it starts with abortion, like, and many can agree, like, okay, abortion's a moral issue. It can be a religious issue. I think we've misread it some, but I get where people are coming from in that. And then the voice of that anti-abortion movement then starts telling you about how evil taxes are and how evil immigration, allowing immigrants to come in is, and you start to conflate them all together, that they're all biblical. Like, and no, no infringement on our gun rights, no infringement on the flag, they all get lumped together coming from the same media. And we start to believe that all of these are God's issues when the Bible just doesn't back it up.
Okay, so we're going to go in a slightly different direction here, because I think there's a good couple of comments and questions about, like one person asks, are you, I assume you, speaking as a preacher or as a citizen? And then there's another comment that says,
yes,
I don't care what your point of view is, just no preacher should have any involvement in government or talk about government. So,
well, that's ludicrous. Why would that be?
Let's think about
I mean, are they talking about like tax exemption?
I don't know. Well, so first of all, we should be clear, Paul is attempting to start a business that can help perpetuate the content he creates, the books he writes, the blogs he posts, the podcasts he records, etc. And it's for profit. Why? Because we want to pay taxes. We're not trying to get a tax shelter. So if that,
and we want to be able to share, whatever we believe biblical truth is.
Yeah. But
so, because the thing is,
infected the Church of America. So if you're a pastor, and which Paul
sorry, that probably didn't sound good.
Was, if you're a pastor and you're trying to lead your people to understand and connect with the God of the Bible who loves them, and they are consumed by the political right, they are consumed by QAnon, they are consumed by conspiracy theories, and they are looking for their shepherd, their pastor in the pulpit to affirm these things, you have no choice but to call that out as a pastor, as a man of God. You have to lift it up and present it to the light of the Holy Spirit and say, this is not of God. So it is the political mindset that has infiltrated the church that now requires people of faith to stand up and say no more and to break it off. So that brings us to this place where we're having to say these things. If we weren't in this situation, would Paul be, all the time talking about the difference between political thought, the difference between what the Bible says, etc.? Probably not. We'd be moving on to something else. But that's where we're at right now, and we have to stand against it. We have to use our voices to do that.
So from the vantage point of pastors of tax-exempt, not-for-profit organizations should not be in the pulpit telling people to vote for Donald Trump, I 100% agree. And I've had those discussions with pastors before during the Obama administration and beyond, saying, guys, if you keep telling people how to vote and handing out voter guides in your churches, you should lose your tax exempt status because you are violating your covenant. Now, being tax exempt doesn't mean you can never talk about policy and government. There is a certain amount that's allowed in that legal covenant. But yes, presidents or pastors that stand in the pulpit and tell people who to vote for president, you are definitely putting your tax exempt status at risk and shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. But definitely, and you've had some of the people you're working with saying, like, where are the white pastors standing up and saying January 6th is not okay? not okay. And following QAnon is not okay.
Yeah.
It is not okay for a Christian to be doing this stuff. And that the police helped people down the steps on January 6th because they were white. And we all know damn well that if they were black or brown or wearing a turban, the same thing would not have happened.
Yeah.
Christians have to be standing up and saying,
Yes.
that's not okay.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
not okay in our
Yes.
country. And we're
Yes.
sick of it. And we're
Yes.
sick of the church espousing it. And so I hope that there are a lot of pastors that will stand up and say those things.
Yeah. Well, I am just mesmerized by all these comments.
I
It's
know.
such good feedback and thoughts. So
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
that
all
was,
good stuff.
you know, maybe that was important for us to have a little bit of a animated moment there.
This is so refreshing. Thank you both. Exactly. I know so many so-called Christians that support them. Yeah. Keeping religion separate from government is basic. And again, I think it's arguable what that term looks like. Everybody brings their moral values to their civic engagement. So to say Christians, you have to leave your Christianity at the door of the voting booth, it's not realistic. And I don't think it's what the Bible says. I think the Bible says, hey, your belief in this God of the Bible means you have to vote and do your actions from a compulsion of caring about people.
I see this. Thank you, Beige 45, for bringing. I didn't know you said Unbreaking America, and I didn't know what that was, but it's a 10-minute explanation of why we are where we are. So Unbreaking America.
Well, I appreciate the suggestion. I don't think we should ever endorse a video that we haven't seen, but we do like Lisa and Page 45.
I mean,
so.
I'm just saying I've not seen that. That's
Yeah.
I want to go check it out. I don't know what it says, but that's interesting. I'll definitely check it out. Okay, so let's see. May I also just reflect back on the comment I made earlier about really just things. And the farther I go back and try to understand how we got to where we are, it just really does in so many ways tie back to systemic and individual racism in our country. And when I think about how God views people, I just can't think, honestly, I can't think of anything that grieves his heart more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there might be other things I just can't think of. I just cannot imagine a greater stench in God's nostrils. So if that is in fact been what has been at the heart of so many of these political anchor points for the right, then do you not think God would want to blow that up? And I don't mean that, I mean like disrupt. Do you not think he would disrupt that? It is his mercy that it would be disrupted and that we would have a chance of putting down a new foundation. So I think that's the season that we're in.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. And I think it's really hard. And I'm not exactly sure where that has to go, but I'm clear on that point.
Yeah.
I'm clear on that point.
Somebody said, hey, I just joined late in the video. So yes, you can go back and watch this live on YouTube.
Oh, that's right.
The Pastor Paul YouTube channel. TikTok doesn't save the lives,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you feel bad that you joined late. We do this at 10:30 Pacific every Saturday.
Sometimes, okay, for a while there, we were only doing lives on TikTok, and I was like, I'm glad that wasn't saved because maybe somebody could distort or take some of the things we say out of context. But now it's saved, so whatever, we're just gonna go with it.
We're over our time and running out of time, but
Yeah.
Somebody was saying, and again, sometimes text is hard to understand exactly the tone of what you're asking, but somebody said, Dearborn, Michigan is a Muslim community, and do we want Muslims bringing their morals into government?
Mm.
And my answer to that is yes. See, we have to be careful we know Muslim people, and they're good people. And just like in some ways we say, the people that broke into the Capitol on January 6th don't represent all white people and all evangelicalism, but it needs to be denounced by all evangelicals, just like on 9/11, that didn't represent all Muslims in our country, but my Muslim friends tell me, then we were compelled, you have to stand up and denounce this. So why aren't we now saying to Christians, you have to stand up and denounce this? But to think that a Muslim doesn't bring good morality into their civic engagement in the United States, I don't think you know any Muslims then. because they are required to bring a morality into what they do that sometimes is a higher standard than many
Definitely
Christian
benefit from.
friends of mine.
Okay, may I put it this way? I have a suggestion on how to think about this.
Okay,
Okay. And it actually comes from a conversation that I had with our 21-year-old daughter this week, who was home for a little while, went back down to LA, but she was here and she texted me. She's downstairs. She texted me, "Mom, are you on a call?" So I was working at home. I said, "No, come on up." So she comes into my little home office upstairs and she's bawling her eyes out. And she's like, "I need a hug." I'm like, "What's going on?" So we embrace. I'm just holding her. And she just starts pouring out her heart. "Mom, there's no end in sight to COVID." She's a performing artist. I don't know when theater is going to open up again. I'm feeling so stuck. The world is crazy. Nobody is like trustworthy. On and on and on she goes. Okay. So I think to myself, wow, this is a picture of this is where our kids are at, So what came to me in that moment is I just said to her, "Sydney, you cannot absorb from headlines the truth of what's happening in community and in society today. Any time and any place where you see sacrificial love, whether it's a person who's doing it in the name of Jesus, or it's a person doing it in the name of Allah, or a person who's doing it in the name of humanism and being agnostic, or Judaism, a person who is sacrificially loving, whatever that looks like, that is God. And that sacrificial love doesn't need affirmation from political leaders to be true. Sacrificial love doesn't need affirmation from headlines and media sources to exist. Let's choose to find that, see it, pay attention to it. Where you see it in your friend group, where you see it on your college campus, where is their sacrificial love? That's what that moors our society. So these questions about it, do we bring religion into government, blah, blah, blah. Like, who cares about that? Where is the sacrificial? Where are we choosing to do things for people we don't know, people don't look like us, future generations will never know? That's what we anchor. Right. That's what we anchor to. We experience that through the person of Jesus. And we believe he is a reflection of who the true God is. But you know what? In a societal sense, it really, that filter doesn't matter. Yeah. Find that sacrificial love and anchor to that. And that's what we want to see reflected in policy and in community decisions.
I think if you believe that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, is that her name? Did I get that right?
I think hope so, I did. Yeah.
If you believe that she's less of an American than you because she is a follower of the I don't know, I'm not sure what the right term is, Muslim religion or Islamic religion. If you believe she's less of an American than you because she was an immigrant into this country, which I also believe is true, Ilhan Omar, yeah, then you don't understand America. I don't think you understand what it's all about and what religious freedom really means. Religious freedom doesn't mean that our religion doesn't interact with our civic engagement. It means the government is not going to impose a law because we're a Christian nation. We're not going to, the founding fathers, I think, were absolutely adamant. We're not going to be a nation with any religious imposition on the people. And these guys that have gone back and sort of rewritten American history to try to explain otherwise, I think are wrong, because they thought any implementation of a religion by government is not only bad for government, it's bad for religion, as we know from the Roman Empire. So religious freedom means the government can't make you follow any religion, and that no religion is going to try to impose itself into government. But that doesn't mean our morality is always going to be influenced by our faith and our spirituality. That's right. Yeah. But Ilhan Omar and your Muslim friends around you in your community are no less American than you.
Yeah.
And if you can't understand that, and if we can't get through that, then we got a problem. And right now, everything I'm hearing from our government is like, Islamic terrorists are not the worry in our country right now. It's our own people that we're worried about right now. They're the real threat. Yeah. So let's just get all this straight.
Hey, so we got to wrap up, but I want to just answer a couple of questions. So people have asked about what your webpage is, and so why don't you run down the list of how people can connect? Oh, and then there was also a question about if you do a weekly service.
We do.
So answer the first part.
So pastor-paul.com. That is the URL that'll take you to the podcast website that has the information, the podcast and blogs. And if you go there and click on the events contact page, you can reach out to me personally via email. And you'll also see that we do a Sunday morning spiritual gathering, 10 a.m. Pacific, on Zoom. And so you can get the Zoom link there and join, and we share life together a little bit. We go through the religious tradition of communion together. We would love to have you join that. So what else do I need to tell?
Okay, so pastor-paul.com. Also just want to mention, thank you for sharing out this live.
Yeah.
And for following. If you haven't already, you can follow on TikTok at Old Pastor Paul. So if you've joined in, make sure that you're following. Share this because we're on a mission to break the algorithm. We think human force can beat the robots.
Come
let's
on,
beat
TikTok,
the robots.
love us again. Love us.
And let's make sure that that we do what we can to connect people who want to think and talk this way. Paul quit his job to literally try to create a social media platform where these kinds of conversations can happen. So we definitely are risking. We're risking our own family's future. And so we really need the help, and would love for you to beat the robots, share this content with as many people as possible. Tune in tomorrow morning if you'd like to check it out. You can see the weekly gathering on TikTok Live, so you're not like actually in the Zoom room doing the communion. If you're a little shy, you don't know what to expect, you can join on TikTok, or you can also sign up to get the Zoom link and then connect with people and talk back and forth.
Yeah. Somebody asked the name of my book earlier. So it's called Joseph Comes to Town. So again, if you go to the website, pastor-paul.com, it has a link that says Joseph the Novel. And you can see on there all the ways you can buy it through Amazon, or by joining our Patreon community, or ordering it directly through the website.
My favorite way to experience Paul's book is if you sign up on Patreon, you can actually get audio chapters.
Oh, and the new segment is coming out. I think this weekend I'll have it finished.
Yeah. So Paul is, if you didn't catch this, so he's got a career in broadcasting. So he's actually got like a really great like audio, like it's his own work, it's his own story. So hearing him read this story is really cool. But to access the audio, it's not on Audible. You go to Patreon, and you can sign up for, I think it's $5.99 a month, and you get access to the audio content.
Yeah. And the way to get there, pastor-paul.com, click on the Patreon link. If you're on your iPhone, they tell me it's not on there, and I'm not sure why. So it's really confusing. Patreon.com/NPE podcast, because it's the Nonpartisan Evangelical Podcast.
And somebody asked, the book title is Joseph Comes to Town, When the Religious Right Go Religiously Wrong. Did I get that right?
When the religious right becomes religiously wrong. So the book is called Joseph Comes to Town.
Joseph Comes to Town.
And you can find it on Amazon through Joseph Comes to Town. And then it has a subtitle, When the Religious Right Becomes Religiously Wrong.
Oh, I want to gift you a domain name if interested.
Okay.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So we are working
Joseph
on rebranding everything. Can't wait to read the book. Awesome. I really do love the book. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think Beige 45, we're kind of in a process right now. A friend of ours is a really gifted like communication strategist person. And so Paul's got content in like 4 or 5 different buckets. So we're working on streamlining it. So I don't know that we want to start off with another URL until we know like what the overall, it's probably just going to be like pastorpaul.com or something. And then you could access the book, the podcast, the blogs, and whatever. So
the book is on Amazon, and the Kindle version is on Amazon. You can get it on there.
And somebody asked if you can do like a little sample of the audio. Is that available on your website? Like a little taste of it? Then go check it out.
I just did a TikTok with it this week.
Okay,
but nobody knows because TikTok's algorithm was stamping me down.
Okay, so we have to resist.
Sorry, TikTok. I'm kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, stay tuned for the rebrand, Beige 45.
Oh, that's so kind of you,
Beige. Fabulous.
Yeah, and even now, even getting pastor-paul.com is kind of a bit of a change for us. So yeah, we're working on that. But yes, I read a segment on TikTok this week.
But also, and so that's on your TikTok page. So that's static content, right? Like you can go find that. But also, he's got a lot of videos. So if you don't want to figure out go through that, just go to the website, pastor-paul.com, and then you should make sure it's on your
Maybe I'll do another one this week.
Do it on your homepage, so then it's right there and you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It is always so hard for us to say goodbye.
I know. We never can stop.
We start late, we go long. because we just like hanging out with you guys and seeing your comments. But my son probably wants breakfast at this point. It's like noon in
Somebody
California.
says, I would love to start a life group on your message. Wow, I would send me a
that's a
DM,
good
send me
idea.
a direct message or email me through the website and let's talk about how we can support you in that.
All right.
I also want to say hi to Southern Drawl Dim, one of my favorite TikTokers. He said hi, and you got to see his page.
Hold on. You're spreading like wildfire in my Toronto church.
What? We love Toronto.
Oh my God. I have to tell you about my Toronto fascination.
Wait, you would just say goodbye for breakfast.
I know. This is why we can never get off. Can I just say in 20 seconds, I am obsessed with a worship CD that was produced live in Toronto. And as best I can tell, the 80s or 90s, it's Vineyard, it's Winds of Worship, Toronto Live, song number 8, True Love. I cannot stop listening to it, and I have been for months. I feel God all over that. And because of that, I feel like there is this resource that is Toronto, that is Canadians, and this honest and authentic pursuit of the love of God for people. And I experienced that by listening to your music. So let's go.
And I think we are looking at how do we support ministries around the country in North America and Toronto of sharing this message. God is not mad at you guys. We
need the peace of the Canadians to pour into the unrest of the United States.
Do we need your help?
We need a Holy Spirit open border, like flow on down here. Anyway, we got to go. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye. See ya. Thanks for everything. You're the best. And so that's off. And let me turn off. Whoops, you're on my mic here. Let me turn off YouTube.